Hello and welcome to Sarat Chandra IAS Academy, where your dreams are our mission. This is Yatharth here. In the last lecture of this series, Mountains of India, we had read about the Himalayan ranges part 1, in which we covered an introduction to Himalaya, the formation of Himalayas, and the Trans-Himalayan ranges, whether it was Karakoram, the Ladakh range, or the Zanskar range. We read about all these. Now we'll move a little more south to this classification and see the Great Himalaya, the Lesser Himalayas, the Inner and Outer Himalayas. Alright, so let's just come back to the part 1, where we saw this is this here Arunachal Pradesh and all. This is Namcha Parbat, and here is the Nanga Parbat in the Gilgit-Baltistan region, and there is Karakoram range here, Ladakh range here, and the Zanskar range here. Alright, in this lecture we'll be talking about more ranges such as the Pir Panjal or the Hindu Kush range. Alright, and see more things, that what's the part of the Himalayas in Nepal, what's their part in the Sikkim, what's their part in the Bhutan, and all such things. We'll be talking about Shivaliks as well. Okay, so this all we have already covered, so we'll not be revising this here. You can just directly move on to the first lecture and watch this all. In this lecture, we'll start from this page, the confusion clear page. So many people have an astounding confusion about the classification of the Himalayas. So how I'll understood this is that Trans-Himalayas we'll take as always the beyond Himalayas. So while Himalayas are divided into 4, 3 or however many parts as you want them to classify according to. So basically Trans-Himalayas are not the main Himalayas, they are beyond Himalayas. Himalayas mainly are divided into 2 parts, the Greater Himalaya and the Lesser Himalaya. So definitely when we talk about the Greater Himalayas, we are talking about the northern part of the Himalayas. And on the other hand, when we are talking about the Lesser or the Inner Himalayas, then we are talking about the Middle Himalayas, let's say in this 3-tier classification. The third type of the Himalayas that we know are Shivaliks or out of Himalayas. So outer means out of Himalayas to understand. Alright, so whenever we talk about the Middle Himalayas, let's say these, then we'll say these are the Inner Himalayas. Whenever we talk about the Shivaliks, let's say these, then we'll say these are the Outer Himalayas. So these are Outer and Inner or Middle Himalayas. Then there are Greater Himalayas. Alright, and then there is the Trans-Himalayan region. Okay, so this is the classification that we'll go according to. I'll provide all these notes on the page, so you can download these from there. No issues about this. Okay, let's move further and come to the Himalayan mountain range. So the Himalayas are also known by various names such as Himadri, Himvan, etc. And they are bordered on the northwest by the Karakoram and Hindu Kush ranges. So this we have already seen, both the Karakoram as well as the Hindu Kush ranges. And on the north by Tibetan Plateau, this we know, and the south by Indo-Gangetic Plains. The range of the main Himalayan alone stretches for a distance of 2,400 km from the Indus Gorge. So this is the gorge where the Indus River flows in the west to the Brahmaputra Gorge in the east. Alright, so this is basically a classification, the gorges to gorges. So to the Indus Gorge towards the Brahmaputra Gorge. There was one more gorge which we studied in the Mahanadi river system. It was the Satkosia Gorge. So just a simple revision here. Okay, so the Himalayan mountain ranges are wider on the western side compared to the eastern side. The Himalayan boundary towards south is well defined by the foothills, but the northern boundary is rather obscure. Obscure means it cannot be defined clearly and merges with the edge of the Tibetan Plateau. Alright, you cannot recognize where the Himalayan mountain ends and where the Tibetan Plateau begins. Now let's talk about the composition of Himalayas. So they are the youngest mountain ranges in the world and consist mostly of uplifted sedimentary and metamorphic rocks. Alright, so which are deposited by sedimentation and metamorphosis, such as changed rock because of the metamorphosis. Alright, let's talk further. This is a map of the Karakoram or Karakoram ranges. The main things that... So this is a map of the Karakoram ranges. The orange portion denotes the area under the Karakoram range. Here you can see many important landmarks such as the Gilgit River. This is the Gilgit-Baltistan region and out of the line of control, that is LOC. This is the Indus River. Alright, the main landmark here is this Nanga Parbat. Here. Alright, there are other things also such as the Nubra River here and the Nubra Valley, which is found by this river. This is the Shok River here in Shok Valley. Okay, this is K2, the Austin Gorvin. Alright, so this region is very important, the Karakoram ranges, and there are many important landmarks which fall here. We move further, and it is denoted here by a straight line, the Karakoram range, and we can clearly see that Ladakh range is down south to the Karakoram range. And further as we go, we meet the Zaskar range. Alright, now these are considered the Trans-Himalayan ranges. And here we meet the Great Himalayan range, which is a continuous range. Why it's known as the Great Himalayan range? Because it's a continuous range. And down south, when we come from the Great Himalayan range, there is the Pir Panjal range. What is Pir Panjal range? So please take care of all these locations. Alright, here we see the China and the Taklamakan desert. This is the Tibet or the Tibet region. It is a Tibet controlled China region basically. Sorry, China controlled Tibet region basically. And these are the Karakoram range here. I hope you are able to see. If you are not able to see, the same notes and the PDF will be shared on the channel where you will be able to zoom and see everything clearly. This is the Pamir Knot, or known as the Roop of the World. And these are the Hindu Kush mountain ranges. These are mostly in Afghanistan. Alright, this is Kashmir here. And here we can see the Karakoram range. Here we can see the Ladakh range. Here we can see the Hindu Kush mountain region. Here we can see the Pir Panjal range in this region. Alright, there are the Ladakh and Zaskar ranges here, this side. The Valley of Kashmir is located between this Zaskar and Pir Panjal range only. Alright, so let's move further and see other things. Here we see the Indus Gorge. This is known as the Indus Gorge, where the Indus River flows. So this in a sense creates the western boundary of Himalayas, and on the other hand this is the Brahmaputra Gorge. Brahmaputra Gorge. So this creates the eastern boundary of Himalayas. So we'll be reading about both these river systems. Okay, let's move and see classification of the Himalayan mountain ranges. So these are further subdivided into Greater Himalayas, as I told you, Inner or Middle Himalayas, and Shivaliks, that are known as the Outer Himalayas. So Himalayas, Greater Himalaya or Middle or Lesser Himalaya, and Outer Himalayas plus Trans Himalayas. So we'll be reading about these three. So the Greater Himalayas, when we say, they are known as the Himadri, Inner or the Central Himalayas. So this classification a little bit flawed, we can say. Alright, you can just call the Greater Himalayas and no need to classify them as Inner, Outer, Middle, anything. So these mountains are composed of Archean rocks like granite, gneiss, and the ancient schist. So these are the very old rocks, the oldest ones. It extends towards southeast across the regions of North Pakistan, northern India and Nepal, before curving eastwards into Sikkim and Bhutan, and finally turning towards northeast across northern Arunachal Pradesh region. Alright, this region is also a region of conflict between India and China. They comprise several of the world's highest mountains, such as the Nanga Parbat. So we have already seen where is Nanga Parbat. It's in Karakoram range in the Gilgit Baltistan. Alright, Mount Everest. So Mount Everest is in Nepal. Kanchenjunga, and the Kanchenjunga is also on the where Bhutan and India border. And Namcha Barwa is on Arunachal Pradesh. So we'll be seeing all these from west to east. This just outside of the Arunachal Pradesh. The orientation of slopes in the range is steep towards north and gentle towards the south. These are the example of rocks. I have put it here for you to see, so that you don't have to go outside and search for all these rocks. So I put all the classification here, whether it's igneous, it's metamorphic, or it's sedimentary. Alright, so here you can see, let's say schist. So it's metamorphic rock. Alright, gneiss, it's also a metamorphic rock. So ancient Archean rocks, these are all. Okay, let's move forward and see the passes of the Greater Himalayas. So in Jammu and Kashmir, you can see the Burzil Pass. Jozila, La means pass. In the Himachal Pradesh, you can say Baralacha, Shipkila. Shipkila is very important pass. From here, Satluj River enters India. Alright, connect the Hindustan-Tibet road connecting Shimla with Gartok in western Tibet. In Uttarakhand, you can see Thaga Laniti Pass, Lipu Lake Pass. And in Sikkim, you can see Nathula, Jelepla. These are very important passes. In Nathula Pass, there is a long-standing fight between India and China standoff. Lhasa and Tibet passes through Jelepla. All right. So there are many passes, important passes, which you need to read. What is a pass? If it's a question in your mind, then pass is, let's say, between two mountains. If there is a way that nature has created for us to pass through it, or any river to come across, then it's known as a pass. All right. Okay, now move forward. Let's see some mapping here. So what are the important mountains of the world which are located in the Himalayas? So Everest is located in the Himalaya, yes. K2, Austin Godwin, yes. It's in the Karakoram range again. Kanchenjunga, yes. It's in the Greater Himalayas. Lhotse, it's also in the Greater Himalayas. Makalu is also there. Then there is Cho-Oyu, all right, and Dhaulagiri, it's also located in the Himalayas. Mansalu and Nanga Parbat both. Then there is Annapurna, it's in Nepal. Greshburn 2, Broad Peak we already saw with K2. All right, and then there is Shisha Pangama. There are smaller mountains such as Akanugua and K2 we have already seen. Here, this is Denali and some other mountains which are not very, very important. But the most highest mountains are in the Himalayas, you can see. Just a second. All right, let's move forward. And we see more important markers such as the Nanga Parbat here. So it's in the Gilgit-Baltistan region we have already seen. The Hindu Kush mountain region is here in the Afghanistan. This is the Karakoram range where the Gilgit-Baltistan region is there and the Nanga Parbat is there. K2, all right, Nubra Valley we all saw. This is the Ladakh range here. This is the Zaskar range we saw here. This is the Pir Panjal range. All right, these are the outer Shivaliks, etc. here. And these are the Great Himalayan range till here, even till further on, ending in the Namcha Parba here, between the Indus Valley Gorge and the Brahmaputra Gorge. Okay, this is the Mount Everest here we saw already in the Nepal region. And there are further many mountains. This is Kanchenjunga, you can see. Just a second. Right, this is Kanchenjunga mountain you can see here, just on the Bhutan and Sikkim border. Sorry, Nepal and Sikkim border. All right. So again, a brief revision for us. The Karakoram ranges lie here. K2 is here. Nanga Parbat is here. Again in the Karakoram ranges only. This is a big region. This is the Hindu Kush range in the Afghanistan. The Pamir Knot is here. All right. This is Ladakh range here. The Zaskar range here. This. The Pir Panjal range here. This. All right. This is the Greater Himalayan ranges. This, the middle one, the Greater Himalayas. Then there is the Dhauladhar range here in the southernmost and the Shivalik ranges, this one. All right, the Pir Panjal, Dhauladhar and Shivalik ranges. And these are the Great Himalayas because they are very, very continuous. So here you can see many, many more mountains. I'll just clear this for you. So we can see the Kamet here. Kamet we already talked about. It's one of the highest mountains. This is the Nanda Devi. It's in Uttarakhand. Then there is Mount Kailash. It's in Nepal. The Gurla Mandata, it's also in Nepal near the Kali river. There's Dhaulagiri, it's also in Nepal. Annapurna, Mansalu, Everest, Makalu, Kanchenjunga, these are all in Nepal. This is especially in the Nepal-Sikkim border. This is Sikkim here. Alright, so this is Namcha Parbat, just on the northern share of Arunachal Pradesh. It's mostly claimed by China on the ground. Okay, so it becomes very simple for us to now visualize where all the different ranges are located and why they are called so. We can easily figure out that Great Himalayan range is a longer one. Alright, then down of the Great Himalayan ranges, there are 2-3 ranges such as the Pir Panjal, the Dhaulagiri range, Dhauladhar range, sorry, and the Shivalik range. And the north of the Greater Himalayas, there are mainly 3 ranges. One is the Zaskar range, one is the Ladakh range, one is the Karakoram range, and there is Hindu Kush range and the Pamir Knot. Alright, so this is the most formation of the Himalayas here. In the eastern, we'll see the eastern hills or Purvanchal. Okay, so in the inner or middle Himalayas, what we see, just a second. Okay, so the inner or middle Himalayas, what we see is the lesser or lower Himalayas. It also consists of several important ranges such as Nagtiba. Nagtiba is a very good trekking zone. Alright, the Mahabharat range, Dhauladhar and Pir Panjal and Masuri range. So what we see here, that Mahabharat range, the Dhauladhar and Pir Panjal and Masuri range. So we have already seen all these. So various important rivers such as the Jhelum and Chenab pass through this range. Alright. The famous valley of Kashmir lies between the Pir Panjal and Zaskar range. This I already told you. And Jhelum river cuts beautifully through this Kashmir valley. So a question has already come on the Jhelum river. The famous hill resort like Shimla, Chail, Ranikhet, Chakra, Nainital, Almora, these are all in Himachal Pradesh. Lie in this range. So which range? The inner or the middle Himalayas. Okay, so important ranges of lesser Himalayas are the Pir Panjal range in the Jammu and Kashmir. They are to the south of the Kashmir valley. Please remember. The Dhauladhar range, these are in the Himachal Pradesh. The Masuri range and the Nag Tiba range, these are in Uttarakhand. And the Mahabharat lake is in Nepal. Here you can see in Uttarakhand the track between the Nag Tiba. So this is Masuri. From here you keep going to the this Nenavach, Pantavari, and finally in the Nag Tiba summit. So this is a tracking portion. On the other hand, in the map to the right side of your screen, you can watch the Jhelum river cutting through the, just a second, I'll change the pen color. This is the Jhelum river that is cutting through the valley of Kashmir here. Alright, so this is the Pir Panjal range, this is the Zaskar range here, this is the Ladakh range here, again and again I'm telling you, this is the Karakoram range here, the Pamir Knot here, the Gilgit-Baltistan region here, and the Pamir Knot V here, and the Hindu Kush mountain regions here, the Great Himalayas here in this range, Dhauladhar range here, and the Shivalik range here. Okay, so this what we are talking about comes in this range, the inner Himalayas of the Greater Himalaya portion. Alright. Now, other things we see, already we have marked again and again, and this is the most important portion of mapping, that you have to see things again and again, revise them in order for you to remember them. So we've already seen these things, Ladakh range, Zaskar range, I am naming again and again, Pir Panjal range, Dhauladhar range, Shivalik range, Greater Himalaya range. Alright, so this is very clear to us. Now what's again we have seen, the Shok river and the Nubra river and the Karakoram pass. So these are all in the Karakoram range. This here, this Aksai chain, etc. This is all in the Ladakh range here. This is in the Zaskar range here. Alright, and about detail, we have already seen the part 1. So this is the Zojila pass, etc. This is the Great Himalayan range. We have already seen. Then the Pir Panjal range, Jammu and Kashmir here. Okay. Now what else we see here is this Dhauladhar range falling down south of the Pir Panjal range. So how do we remember this? P and D. Alright. So let's make a pictographic, let's say, just a second, so that we do not forget all these. So how we start? From the Pamir Knot, let's start. And it has two southern portions. One is the Karakoram range, one is the Hindu Kush range. Down Karakoram there is Ladakh. Down Ladakh there is Zaskar. Down Zaskar there is Pir Panjal. Down Pir Panjal there is Dhauladhar range. Alright, and these are all in, let's say, convergence. And here you can see the Hindu Kush mountain ranges, and down there is nothing, it's just Pakistani plains, Indo-Gangetic plains, and here also same Indo-Gangetic plains. Alright, and when we move here, we'll see the eastern ranges. So that we'll talk later about. Alright, let's move forward. So Shivalik or Outer Himalaya. So it's the southernmost range of the Himalayas and lies between the Great Plains of North India and the Middle Himalayas. So what is the extent of the Shivaliks? So they are wider on the western side compared to the eastern sides. It rises abruptly from the plain of the Indus and Ganga river in the south and parallels the main ranges of Himalaya in the north, from which is separated by valleys. So these valleys are known as the dunes. So Nepal portion of this range is known as the Churia range. So we will see what is Churia range. So these valleys are known as dunes. So what are the formation of dunes? So Shivaliks are also peculiar. Peculiar means a little weird, we can say, due to the formation of dunes. Alright. So during the upliftment of the Shivaliks, many rivers deposited the sediments at the bottom of the lakes. So what basically happened, just a second. Okay, let's say this is the inner Himalayas or middle Himalayas, and there is this valley, and these are the Shivaliks. Okay, so if a river was flowing through here, then it would deposit sand. So it make a temporary lake. And when the lake finally got out of this Shivalik ranges, eventually, then the sediments were left. And these sediments made a fertile region. These fertile regions are known as dunes. So biggest or the largest of them is Dehradun. Alright. So Shivaliks are also peculiar due to formation of dunes during the upliftment of the Shivaliks. Many rivers deposited the sediment at the bottom of the lakes, and over the period of the time the river could cut through the Shivaliks. Therefore, water drained away, leaving behind fertile alluvial soils, known as dunes in the west or duars in the eastern part of India. These are important for the cultivation of tea. Okay, so what we see here is various dunes. So Jammu and Kashmir, you see Jammu Hills. Dafla, Miri, Abor and Mishmi Hills, they are in Arunachal Pradesh. These are also the name of the respective tribes which are found in these regions. The Dahang Range and Dudhwa Range in Uttarakhand. The Churiya Ghat Range in Nepal. So let's just quickly see a map here of these dunes and the Nepal portion. So this is the Shivalik range down from the greater Himalayan ranges. It's also rather continuous. So in the Nepal, this is known as the Churiya range. Alright, this is Bhutan here, and the Shivaliks also run in the Bhutan. This we already seen what are dunes. No need to see it again. Alright, and dunes refer to the flat bottom structured valleys which are found between Shivalik Hills and the lesser Himalayas. Largest is Dehradun. Others are Bomdila Pass, Shipkila Pass and Nathula Pass in Sikkim. So this was about today's lecture. We finished the greater Himalayas and the lesser Himalayan ranges. Now in the next lecture, we'll quickly talk about the eastern Himalayan ranges and finish this lecture. Finish this topic in this series. So thank you very much. Have a very good day ahead. This is Yatharthya signing off.